Welcome to Modern Marketing Messages. This is the leading podcast discussing the latest and greatest in both online and offline marketing tactics, strategies, and trends. I'm your guest host, Richard Roeper. I'm also the host of the Screen Time Podcast, which is powered by AmericanEagle.com Studios. Now, in this very special episode, we're going to be having conversations with marketers from different businesses. So, joining us now is Susan Bearman from the Animal Store.
Correct.
Susan, welcome. And I have to ask you right off the bat. Now, your last name is Bearman.
Correct.
Just like Bear Man.
Yes.
Now, does everybody who works at the animal store have to have an animal in their name? Do you have like Jimmy Giraffe Head or anything like that? Or are you unique to this?
Well, we have not implemented that marketing strategy yet, but we're working on it. Yeah.
I mean, because it is kind of the perfect name for someone who works at the animal store, right?
A lot of people think so.
People mention that because they're like, oh, really? You know. So, well, first of all, tell us what your exact position is.
My exact position is I married someone who bought a pet store, and he knows a lot about retail. Mm-hmm. I'm a communications person. I'm a writer by trade. And so I just sort of took over the marketing and am completely self-taught.
That's fantastic. Now, you say you're a writer by trade. What type of writing have you done through your career?
I've done everything from business to business to poetry. I published a short story this year.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to read that. We'll talk after the podcast. Okay, so tell us about the animal store.
The animal store is, my husband used to describe it as sort of the animal version of an old-fashioned hardware store because everything is there and on display and things like that. Unlike big box stores or even a lot of pet stores now, a lot of pet stores don't have pets.
I know.
They have supplies, they have food, they have cute little collars, they have stuff like
Halloween costumes or
Exactly.
holiday stuff. You're so right because I have a little pup. And I go into what, they call them pet stores, and you walk in, there might be like one lonely cat greeting you that I think they just bring in there as a prop. And you're like, well, where are the pets in the pet store? So this is more of the all-encompassing pet store.
Right. So it's somebody once called us the Who Knew Zoo. It's like visiting a zoo when you come to our shop. We're very family friendly. We invite families to come in and kids, and they can get to meet the animals and come in one time or 10 times and ask their questions and learn what it's like to take care of a certain kind of animal. We sell everything except dogs. And there's a practical reason for that, and there's sort of other kinds of reasons. Practical reason is it's a really small store, and we don't have an outdoor space, and dogs and puppies really need that. So we recommend a sheltered dog or from a reputable breeder.
There are plenty of places people can go. So first of all, where is the animal store?
It's in Lincolnwood on Touhy Avenue.
In Lincolnwood, Illinois, for those of us listening across the country. You should come to Lincolnwood.
Definitely.
Get the chance. And how long has it been there?
Well, the store existed as a pet store before we got it.
Okay.
But we've owned it for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So a really long time.
All right. So you're a real institution in Lincolnwood.
We are.
That's
and
awesome.
We're getting to be known a little bit more broadly. We have really cool animals, like super fun things that you've never heard of. So, yeah, we have parakeets and goldfish and all that kind of stuff, but we have really neat things like sugar gliders and iguanas.
I'm going to stop you right there for a second, Susan. Sugar gliders. I thought that was something you could get like at White Castle, but what is a sugar glider?
A sugar glider is a small marsupial.
Oh, wow.
I think it's the only marsupial kept as a pet.
Okay.
And they're just adorable. They're kind of like little flying squirrels, sort of. They have a little bit of a bat wing. That's why they're called gliders, because in the wild they glide from treetop to treetop. They have huge eyes and cute little ears and adorable faces, and people fall in love with them when they see them.
I feel like it's something that like Lin-Manuel Miranda will do the voice for the animated sugar glider in an upcoming Pixar movie.
I totally see that. I think we should suggest that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how you get your message out. So you're doing the marketing Did that change during the pandemic in terms of what your role is and how you market the animal store?
Well, it's sort of interesting. The pandemic hasn't affected us as much as it has many other businesses because we were considered an essential business.
Okay, so you were allowed to remain open.
We were allowed to remain
and
open.
Still are. We should let people know.
Yes, and we require masks, and we do a lot of sanitizing in the store, and all the COVID protections that we can afford. But we had to be there to take care of our animals, and people need supplies and food and things for their animals at home. So that's why we were considered an essential business. The real change in marketing came for us. My husband was very sort of old school retail, brick and mortar. Why do I need to be online? That kind of thing. Yeah. So getting him to buy into that took a little while. And I started out really super simply with just a blogger blog. That's really what happened. And then I finally said, we have to have a website. We have to have a website. And that's how we connected with American Eagle. And I learned on the fly and created our website. And it gets really good traffic. And now we're working on our social media. And we're looking for a way to maybe put some of our products online too.
That's what I was going to ask next, the option then that people would be able to get supplies or products or toys or whatever the case may be through an online portal. That's going to be something you're working on?
Right. That's our next step. Okay. Right now, we're now on TikTok, which is really fun, and Instagram. We've been on Facebook for a while, a little bit of Twitter, some Pinterest. So those are kind of the marketing channels we're looking at. And it was a slow build, but we can definitely see now that those are driving word of mouth to get people into the store. And
we're working with American Eagle. They're helpful then, kind of implementing and kind of, because it sounds like it's a learning experience both ways. And I know when I'm working with them, they usually there's a hands-on kind of feeling, like you're not just dealing with an anonymous company.
Absolutely. I was pretty clueless when I started, and if you look at our website, it's pretty sophisticated for a small brick and mortar store, and I was only able to do that with their help.
And you know, the nice thing too, Susan, as you mentioned, like, okay, your husband's old school, he wants people to come in, but I know from my point of view, if I was going to check out the animal store, the first thing I would do is check out your website and then see if I want to make the trip to Lincolnwood to come see you guys.
Is this a real place?
Yeah.
Does it even exist?
Yeah, is it a real place? Yeah.
If you're not on the web, which is bizarre, if you're not in this virtual space, then you don't exist in real life either.
Absolutely.
And it's a strange kind of coexistence that you have to have both before people accept you in the real world.
And I don't know if you're doing this, but you see a lot of companies do this. You can get testimonials then from customers and put them on the web. Hey, we got a sugar glider at the animal store, and it's part of the family now.
We love good stuff like that. And people love their animals.
Yes.
And they love to talk about them, and they really become part of your family.
Yes.
So it's different than buying a couch or a refrigerator or even a new car. People have such an emotional attachment to their pets, and like I said, they're really family members.
I found that from my standpoint, I've been lucky enough that the work I do in writing and podcasting could continue because it's kind of, stuff you can do from a studio, or I could do my writing from home. And I was used to that, but having my dog, day in and day out, I could get choked up just talking about it. It just makes such a difference to have that companion, but also someone, a living thing that's depending on you. I think people found that as too. It gave them a purpose through the pandemic.
I think that's a really important point because in addition to the pandemic, there's a certain reimagining of what it means to be a human being in our very complex world. And people are looking toward experiences. And owning an animal or having an animal adopted into your family is a very intimate, very personal experience. For a lot of kids, it's their first real sense of responsibility. They learn to take care of something. They learn maybe that they're not quite the center of the world, that there are other things around that require attention and things like that. So it's more than some people. They have a hard time understanding the role that pets play. But anyone who has a pet, even if they can't express what it is, they feel it, and they feel it really strongly and really deeply.
Did you find too? I know we heard a lot of stories about families. Oh, we're gonna get a pet because of the pandemic, because the kids were being schooled at home, and that's a responsibility for you and your husband and the animal store to make sure that someone is prepared for what's ahead, that there's a lot of work involved in addition to a lot of love and companionship.
100%. A really big part of our mission is to make sure that families understand what it means to take care of this animal, what kind of a commitment. For example, if you've ever seen a parrot, they're beautiful, right? So if you love birds, a lot of parrots can live 50, 75, 100 years.
Amazing.
So when you adopt a bird like that into your family, you have to even think about putting it in your will and what's going to happen to it when you're no longer around to be able to take care of it. So there are a lot of things to consider before you bring an animal into your home.
Absolutely. So we're almost to 2022, if you can believe it, Susan. I mean, we've made it there. What is the future for marketing, from the marketing standpoint for Animal Store? What do you see in the future?
Like I said, I think we're going to try and put some products online and see how that goes. I think we're really working at integrating that online experience with the in-store experience. As a brick and mortar business, we want people to come into the store. But I think there are lots of opportunities with online marketing to entice people into the store, to give them some pre-information so that they know questions to ask or what they're looking for or what to expect. And so I think there are lots of ways that we can expand it and share the fun stuff of owning a pet too.
Exactly. My unsolicited tip of the day for you, Susan, is have a sugar glider have its own TikTok account.
Okay.
And then that'll become what you'll be most famous for.
Well, my daughter just adopted a kitten. It's her first pet as an adult.
Okay.
And one of the things she has agreed to do is blog about a year in the life of a kitten. So we're going to put that on the website. I think it'll be really fun. Look for Gus online. He's very cute.
Gus. Susan Bearman, thank you so much. We appreciate it. The Animal Store, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Susan Bearman from the Animal Store. They are licensed for all the pets they carry. They're ethically sourced. Kudos to them for that. And if you want to visit the Animal Store, they're at 4364 West Touhy Avenue in Lincolnwood, Illinois. That's 4364 West Touhy Avenue, Lincolnwood, Illinois, for the Animal Store. All right. We are in the AmericanEagle.com studios, and joining us now is Ted Horan. Ted.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And you are with?
RDO Equipment Company.
Tell us about RDO Equipment Company.
Right. We are a large John Deere dealer.
Oh, cool.
We sell both John Deere agricultural equipment, but also John Deere construction equipment. We also sell the equipment you would use to mow your yard.
Nothing runs like a deer.
Hey.
You know,
Smart.
But I got to say, sincerely, that is one of the great brand names of all time, I think. You know, John Deere. I mean, I know growing up for me, for everybody, it's just so familiar. So how long have you been with the company?
I've been with the company for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were you doing before that? Can you talk about what you're doing before that?
Sure.
Or is it a state secret?
No, I was in the restaurant business. I owned and operated some restaurants, so it absolutely makes sense that I'm now marketing heavy equipment.
Well, you're going, I guess this would be table to farm instead of farm to table, kind of in a way.
Something like that.
Something like that. What's your exact title now? What is your position?
Right. Okay, so I've got a fancy title. I'm Vice President of Marketing and E-commerce.
Okay, which is perfect, and that'd be why you're here, of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Okay, so first of all, the John Deere brand name. Do you have a lot of the hats? Do you have a whole collection of hats?
We do hats.
Because we got to talk hats. Maybe
sure.
I'll give you like a private review of something in advance in exchange for a few hats.
We do lots of hats.
But like everybody else, Ted, obviously you've had to adjust. We're going back. We're talking right now. It's near the end of 2021. Believe it or not, it's almost 2 years now. I mean, it was late 2019 when we first started hearing about this, whatever they were calling it, this virus. And early last year, by the time things started changing, what kind of changes did you have to make from your standpoint when it became apparent that we were going to be on some form of lockdown for a long period of time?
Right. I think one of the first reactions that we had, my team had, is, holy crap. Mm-hmm. What do we do? What's this really going to look like? Mm-hmm. And there really were no answers. And I think what we discovered real quickly, though, is we were fortunate enough to sell, like I said, tractors that you use to mow your yard. Mm-hmm. Well, people were mowing their yard. They were doing other things. Yeah. They were getting after things that they hadn't been doing for a while. Yeah. And so we were selling tractors, and we were in business. But also, we sell to those who feed and build the world, right? From growers to contractors, and their world never stopped. Yeah. If you want to define it as essential, I mean, they're most essential, right?
Yeah, right.
And so as an organization like RDO Equipment Company, our job really is to service our customers, is to be in service to and for our customers. And so, that's keeping them that's keeping them running. That's making sure that the equipment that they've purchased is doing the job that they need it to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were doing. And so from a marketer's perspective, we were telling those stories. Mm-hmm. We were making sure that we were doing it in a respectful way, right? I mean, if you didn't evaluate your messaging and if you didn't think through how you were speaking to your customers in a new COVID space, I mean, you were missing the boat. And so, of course, we did those things and we made adjustments to our messaging. But in a lot of ways, I feel guilty almost saying this, but we weren't disrupted in the same way as others.
There was never a moment like, we talked to you were in the restaurant business, and of course,
many
restaurants had to shut down or lay off people. I mean, it remains a huge challenge to this day, and you never had that moment, of course, with RDO.
And that is a big deal. I mean, we're mindful of one of our important hallmarks is the fact that we believe in serving the communities that serve us and that we do business in. So certainly our stores throughout the U.S. were doing things to help our communities, to be good community stewards and to step up and be helpful where we can. And when we were doing that, I definitely feel for those organizations and those businesses that, from health and fitness centers to restaurants where their business just stopped. I'm an entrepreneur before I think I consider myself a marketer, and that's why I was in the restaurant business. I'm grateful I got out. I mean, I got out because I love my kids and my wife more than I do that business.
Yeah, talk about 24/7, right?
Right,
and evenings and everything. Yeah.
And so I just try to imagine. Actually, I don't go there very much because if you start to think about it, it's just too depressing. Like, what would life be like? And so I have lots of friends and colleagues that are still in that business, and I feel for them. I feel for them, and it was rough. It's very rough.
What about in terms of challenges? I mean, you were continuing on, but obviously, I would assume for salespeople, there were changes that had to be made. I mean, what was some of the big challenges you faced?
Well, of course, you're not visiting customers in the same way that we're used to. If you were to ask any of our boots on the ground, our field reps, our account managers, our salespeople, they're going to tell you we're in the relationship business. Yeah. And it was really hard not to go and see those customers on a regular basis. So we got really good, as most organizations did, at virtual meetings, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that for us, that was huge, and that was important. Our guys, our salespeople, our folks got really good at telling the story virtually, at presenting our equipment in unique and creative ways. I think that was big for us. I also know that we had to adjust the way people would pick up their spare parts, right? Doing curbside it seems so simple, but it really disrupted processes for a little bit. But honestly, some of those things will never change for us, and we'll continue to deliver to the curb for our customers.
That's what I was going to ask, Ted. I mean, you hate to say silver linings, but things you learn that you might not otherwise have learned. Like you talk about something like a curbside pickup that may never really have occurred before then.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think some of those delivery mechanisms, some of those things that we learned that actually we probably should have done it sooner.
Right. And with RDO equipment too, I mean, there's certain things, and I say this with all due respect to a lot of brands out there, but I think there's something generational about RDO equipment where you have people saying, well, my father, my grandfather, my grandparents had this tractor or this, so there's it's a big company, but it's always had that kind of personal feeling that, of course, you didn't want to lose that either. That that feeling that everybody's part of this community with John Deere. Right.
Well, and we're a family-owned business, and that family takes pride in the business certainly, but also is certainly concerned about our team members, but our customers as well. Our founder was a farmer. He started when he was 26 years old, farming with his father, and he got into the equipment business sort of by accident. And so, I mean, I think he always has approached the business from the standpoint of a grower, of somebody, a purchaser of equipment. And I think so, I mean, we're customer first and service first. And I think that that we've been doing business with these people for a very long time. And so we sort of kind of do what we need to do to get the job done.
And you mentioned, virtual meetings, and of course we all, people thought Zoom was a show on Channel 11 back in the days until about 2 years ago. But as horrific and tragic, of course, on a human level, much bigger than any business this has been, I always say to people, imagine when this happened in 1917, or even if this had occurred in the 1970s, at least thank God for the technology that's out there that enabled you to keep getting your message out there and continuing with business.
Yeah, I mean, we're innovative. Business, we're innovative. People got to work and figured it out. And that's impressive to me. And I love to hear stories about companies that discovered or figured out something, that the ways that they could do during these difficult times and this COVID era, they could do their thing. I'm impressed by the innovation that was around us.
Yeah, I think it was pretty amazing to see. So we're talking right now, it's by the time people are going to be hearing this, it's going to be very close to the end of 2021. What's your overall philosophy for 2022 in terms of marketing?
Yeah, one of the things that I think COVID has done for me, and probably for other marketers, is it's really forced us to reconsider our brand, reconsider how we tell our story and how we message our brand. We have spent so much time, at least I have in the last several years, trying to get our digital game right, trying to be better marketers, trying to get the right information in the hands of the people when they need it most. That we haven't neglected our brand, but we haven't necessarily talked to brand or talked about who we are in ways that maybe we would have in the past, right? I think so me, it's doubling down on that and making sure that our customers understand who we are, and frankly, that we listen to our customers to make sure that indeed what we're delivering is what they expect and what they need.
Beautifully said. Ted Horan, RDO Equipment Company. Thanks for stopping by the studio.
Thank you.
Welcome to the AmericanEagle.com studios. Who are we saying hello to right now?
Hi, my name is Drew Popper, and I work for Hellermann Tyton in the e-business area.
Drew Popper. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that is just a fantastic name. It sounds like you could have been a professor at Slytherin in the Harry Potter book. So tell me, Drew, now where are you from originally?
I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
I've been told that I should be doing a podcast with my name, so maybe this is an entree into
Popper's
that.
Podcast coming soon. I like it.
There you go. And I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin now.
And that's where the company is based. You're based in Milwaukee. So tell me a little bit about your background and how you came there. Just a little. Let's hear the Drew Popper story.
Oh my gosh! Well, it's a long roundabout way, so I'll cut out some things. But my background is in technology marketing, and I've started out that way way back when. I've been working in website development for at least 25 years and started out way back when, and I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico at that time, working for the national labs. And that's how I got my start.
I love Albuquerque. I'll give you a quick aside because we have to make this about me at some point too,
sure.
Drew. I used to do a lot of work for the Reels channel, which is based in Albuquerque. And as you may know, Albuquerque has become a huge hub for movies and TV, the Albuquerque studios. So I would go out there once a month because I had to be on New Mexico soil for them to get the tax breaks, okay?
Right.
And I was in a studio, was right next to a show that was just starting, they were telling me about, called Breaking Bad, when it was first starting. So
yes.
I love Albuquerque. So you've traveled quite a bit, but now how long have you been in Milwaukee?
20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time.
You know, and I know there's sometimes this kind of Chicago. By the way, we're in the Chicago area for those of you who are listening. AmericanEagle.com. Headquarters are in Des Plaines, right outside of Chicago. You know, there's some sports rivalries, but I feel the two cities are actually very much kindred in terms of like being big, small towns where, you know, I feel the people are very friendly. There's a lot of great stuff to do. How do you feel when you come to Chicago?
Milwaukee's way better than Chicago.
Good answer for someone who's based in Milwaukee. That's a good answer. So tell me a little bit about the company where you are now. What is your official title with the company?
I'm the e-business manager.
Okay.
And we, Hellermann Tyton, we produce items that are used for electrical routing and protection. And what that means is we make a lot of little plastic parts that protect wires in very commercial ways. So, for example, in an automotive situation where there's a lot of electrical wires going through, we make protection for those electrical wires, help them connect or help them attach to the car. So they're protected and out of the way for people.
So very vital, but sort of like an unseen thing that people only notice if something's not going right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before working there, I had no idea about these products at all. We make cable ties that are made out of all different types of material that can be used in a solar environment, in a very cold environment, in a wet environment. So lots of different material science goes into our products.
And we've been through this, incredible, stressful and trying time that, I don't think, well, maybe some of us did see this was going to last this long. We're now well into the second year and we've had our ebbs and flows. From the start with the pandemic, did you have to implement new digital marketing strategies? How did you cope with that? Let's kind of go back to the beginning when it first became apparent that things were going to change.
Yes. Well, it took a while for us to really adapt, and we realized that we needed to do a lot more to support our sales staff since they were unable to go and visit with customers. So producing videos and doing some online learning and things like that became much more important. Our customers were all in the same boat, so it was very easy to be empathetic with each other. And so our customers were great and very patient with us.
It's interesting you put it that way, Drew, because the worst possible circumstances, but in a way, maybe we kind of took our business partners and our clients for granted and it was business as usual, literally. And then we all felt like we were kind of in something together. Did you feel that way, like, with the people you were dealing with your clients, with your sales staff?
Absolutely. And we still feel that way because we still feel the reverberations of the pandemic. It's still affecting everyone's business. Our business has been great, but we have been affected by the chips shortage. We do a lot in the automotive industry, so that's been a challenge.
And that's something that's recently become a big thing too, where I don't know if this has specifically happened to your company, but stuff could be in a cargo ship somewhere, and there's no one to bring it to Milwaukee for you to then distribute it.
Absolutely, we have that problem with all around. Luckily we had a very good stock of material, so we've been able to keep our production.
You've been able to meet demand. You've been able to keep up with that.
Yeah, in
Good.
most cases.
Now you mentioned your sales force. How big of a sales force is it altogether?
Oh my gosh, Probably, and I probably would edit this out because I don't know for sure, probably about 30 people all over the country. And then we have offices in Mexico and in Canada as well.
Oh, okay. So you're really a North American company, not just in terms of having offices in both places.
We're an international company,
Gotcha.
and we have at least 13 different operations in different countries.
Okay,
Every
great.
country you can imagine. In Milwaukee, we're the North American operations.
Understood. Okay, great. And the sales staff then, so the sales staff prior to the pandemic, they were all about face-to-face, making those calls, building those relationships in person, and all of a sudden that didn't just kind of slowly dissipate, it just came to a grinding halt, correct?
Correct.
And
That
how
was
did
really
you
hard.
deal with the sales staff? Because that's got to be tough, especially, I'm sure, as we know, like the best salespeople, that's what they're all about. They're all about the contacts and the in-person relationships, not the telephone, not the email, not the text.
Well, I would say our sales staff really adjusted and pivoted really quickly
Nice.
to be able to adapt to the pandemic. And sure, it affected everyone in different ways. But like I said, our customers are long-term customers. We haven't needed to really go out and find a whole bunch of new customers. We've been able to really keep steady increases. So we already had very, very strong relationships with our customers. So that helped, obviously. But we helped our sales staff, like I said, with online materials, making sure that they had what they needed. Also, we have portals for our customers so that they can get to the information they need in a secure environment. And we started doing more online learning, webinars, things like that helped.
Did you find that there was then some element of a silver lining where you found different tools and techniques that you might not have discovered or tried had it not been for this kind of lockdown situation?
Yeah, absolutely. It really identified some areas that we could do better and that we could start doing. For example, we're starting a blog, which we didn't have before. Again, it's to reach out to our customers and potential customers, end users of our products in a more electronic way, digital way. So we didn't have that before, but we feel like that's an important new tool.
So looking forward, we're almost to 2022, if you can believe it. I mean, and all of this madness started at the end of 2019, really, and then really affected the United States in early 2020. What do you see as the future for your digital marketing going into 2022?
I think the future for us is going to be much more targeted and, targeting based on the different industries that we serve, targeted based on different size of distributors that we have, because some of them only purchase products in for certain segments, and just really segmenting and personalization is going to be important for us.
Sounds great. Drew Popper, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for listening to Modern Marketing Messages. For more information about the topics discussed today, check out the description of this episode. Now, if you like this episode, please follow this podcast wherever you listen to them to stay up to date with us. Hey, and while you're at it, give us a rating and share this podcast with others as well. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Modern Marketing.